Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff to spice up the bedroom is even better. Whether you're buying a gift for your sugar baby or just for yourself, you can get 50% off at adamandeve.com when you enter the code CANDY at checkout.
And that's not all. Adam and Eve will include 10 tantalizing free gifts, a sexy item for him, a special gift for her, and a third item all partners can enjoy. Plus, you'll receive 6 free spicy movies.
But the best part is the free shipping.
You can get all of this at adamandeve.com using code CANDY at checkout.
That's CANDY.
So Shelby, what are you getting me?
Candy Girl Podcast. Fuck me, daddy.
Hey, all you candy sluts and bubble butts. Welcome to another episode of Candy Girl Podcast.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Emily.
And today we're talking to Erika Heidewald. Erika, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Erika Heidewald. You nailed it.
Awesome. So you might recognize that name from a couple of things, but most recently, if you know anything about what's going on with Bella Thorne and OnlyFans, Erika had this kind of viral thread about why what she's doing has really harmed sex workers, especially long term. And I thought today we could kind of talk to you about that situation in particular, and then any opinions you might have on celebrities appropriating this sex work aesthetic and using it to make themselves look cooler, but then not really helping sex workers in any way.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess my first question, in your own words, could you kind of explain what's going on with the Bella Thorne situation?
Yes. So basically, Bella Thorne joined OnlyFans and made an incredible amount of money very quickly. And then this was controversial, but not like straightforwardly wrong in any way. But then she sent out a pay-per-view message for $200 and claimed that it was going to be a nude photo, but then it wasn't. And so a lot of her subscribers were upset and asked for chargebacks. And so suddenly there was this unprecedented huge amount of chargebacks that OnlyFans was on the hook for. So basically, OnlyFans was on the hook for this huge amount of chargebacks, and so they implemented some policies that affect all OnlyFans creators. And originally, they made a cap of $50 for pay-per-view messages and $100 for tips. They have since raised the cap on pay-per-view messages to $100, I think because there's been a big backlash. And in some countries, they are now doing a 30-day pending period for people to get their money instead of a 7-day pending period. At first, it was unclear if that was going to be everywhere. It's still pretty unclear what's really going to happen because they've never come out and like sent an email to everybody describing the changes. It's really people have just had to figure it out by trying to send a pay-per-view message for $200 and not being able to do it, and other people trying to get their money out and not being able to do it. So I think right now OnlyFans is still kind of figuring out how they're going to handle this situation, because I don't think they were prepared for the massive amount of bad press they got over this. But basically, people are now very angry at Bella Thorne for just thoughtlessly coming into the platform and scamming, which not only led to these draconian policies that really affect all of us, but also just increased that unfair stereotype that sex workers already deal with, that we are scammers in some way and that we are overpriced or taking advantage of customers. And so that's a really damaging stereotype that we've worked really hard to overcome. And so to have a very privileged, very rich actress come in and really not think about the lives and livelihoods of all the people who built this platform and made it what it is, and harming us in the process, that has resulted in a lot of anger and also just a lot of fear on individuals' behalf of how this is going to affect our lives and our ability to pay our bills.
And OnlyFans didn't allow refunds originally, right? Or they still don't?
No, they do.
Okay.
OnlyFans has a pretty generous chargeback policy, I think, because, well, I mean, you're always going to have some scammers on the internet. That's inevitable. And so OnlyFans doesn't want to be associated with scamming and stuff. So they've got a pretty generous chargeback policy. If somebody pays for something and they don't get what they wanted, they can do a chargeback and get their money back. This can be problematic because a lot of people do this not because they didn't get what they paid for, but because as soon as they weren't horny anymore or their wife saw the credit card statement, they regretted spending the money and then do a chargeback. And so that has led to problems for, I'm sure, for OnlyFans as a company, but definitely I know for creators. But I think well, because they do give people all of their money back, they still have processing fees from banks. A lot of times banks charge like $25 fee for a chargeback. And so this has put OnlyFans on the hook for a lot of money.
And you mentioned in your thread that this is a big problem for sex workers, particularly because they don't even get to live paycheck to paycheck. They kind of have to live large sum of money to large sum of money from the content that they put out.
Yeah, that's true. Basically, for a lot of sex workers, obviously this isn't a job where you get paid by the hour, and it's not a job where you get paid consistently at all. There's a lot of girls who are putting in a lot of work and having days or weeks where they are making nothing. And especially when you're starting out, it can be really hard to get subscribers and get people to buy your content. And so what makes it pay off for a lot of people is you have these bigger ticket items. You have custom videos and things like that, which you can sell for maybe $300. And then that big payday is what's going to help you pay your bills, and you've got to stretch it out over time. And so the ability to price your content at whatever you think the value is it's just integral to sex workers being able to make a living doing this. Because especially when you're starting off, so like for larger creators who have a much larger audience, they can price things lower because they can sell more. They can do a $10 video and sell it to 2,000 people. But when you're first starting off, it's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more one-on-one. And so you're a lot more likely to spend a bunch of time on a video for one person. You'll never sell it to anybody else. It's very particular to that person. And then it's going to be a higher priced item because it's just it's just work for that one individual.
So we talked to Gwenadora about how a lot of sex workers have to put their content on a bunch of different websites because a lot of times things like this will happen where a porn site's taken down, and then that's another source of income that they're missing. Do you think if OnlyFans does end up going down, because beyond this scandal, they have some tax evasion issues, do you think people are going to start moving toward porn sites,
Mhm.
or are there other options for sex workers?
So I think that there's a wide variety of creators on OnlyFans, and one reason why OnlyFans has become successful is because it has this like mainstream reach, like outside of um, specifically the porn world, and so it's been able to reach a lot of people who have like never paid for porn before, haven't gone on all of those paid porn websites, and it also reaches people who aren't really comfortable with going on super explicit sites, and I think that also is a big comfort level for a lot of the creators, because a lot of creators on OnlyFans don't necessarily consider themselves as creating pornography, and are this is a day job or a side job kind of, so you've got like your people for whom this is a career absolutely will move to another platform and figure it out. And it will hurt people for a while because it's always hard to move over an audience. You know, you're going to have just a break in your steady income. But for the people who, like, for example, were working in the service industry and then they've been doing more OnlyFans during the pandemic because they needed a way to make more money, I think a lot of them will not move over to porn sites. And I would assume, if anything, people would go back more to like doing premium Snapchat and stuff like that.
Okay, so this seems like a good place to segue into, you know, learning more about you as a person outside of a pretty dope Twitter thread. Oh, fuck. Okay, so how did you get your start in sex work?
So I'm an actress and I'm from Indiana originally, but I moved to LA completely on my own and supporting myself. And for a long time, I did a wide variety of odd jobs. Because as an actor, you really need something that's flexible. You need something that's going to allow you to go on auditions and things like that. So for a long time, I did like transcribing for reality TV. I worked at a comedy theater. I wrote comedy articles for a living for a few years. I've done a lot of different kinds of jobs, but it was always really hard just to ever be anything besides surviving. And I got really exhausted, really by just always being so poor. And I just didn't want to live right at the edge anymore. And so a few years ago, I decided to try stripping. And this was a big thing for me because I was not necessarily someone who was, like, morally, I was very supportive of sex work, but I had a lot of hangups when it came to myself, you know, and I was definitely just scared of it and really didn't want people to know. So when I was stripping, it was a total secret. I did it like an hour away from my house and did not tell people. But I did figure out pretty quickly that I liked it and I was pretty good at it, and that because I guess, you know, I was worried about like this moment, the very first time that you like whip your top off on stage in front of other people, and that it would be like this line you cross and you become this other person. And then I was up on stage that first time, whipped my top off, and I was like, you know what? This is not that weird. Like, I'm the same person I was a minute ago. I've danced before, I've been on stage before, and I've been naked before, and I'm just combining these things now. So I did that for a bit. I did enjoy it, but LA is not a great place to be a stripper for many reasons, but the biggest one for me is that it's a very high contact environment. Like, there are some states that have very strict laws where you cannot like touch the dancers, and I wish that that was the case in California, but it is not. And I just reached a point where I was like, I cannot let anyone touch me again. I will just break the fingers of the next man who touches me. And so that was pretty clear. I was like, okay, I can't go back to work. So then I went back to sort of my regular life of, you know, odd jobs and side jobs for a while, because I was concerned about, you know, doing something like OnlyFans, because I was afraid of losing legitimacy as an actress, and I was afraid of, you know, people screenshotting things and using them against me in the future. And then I talked about it with a friend of mine whose sister was in porn, and he just kind of like helped me analyze all of these thoughts and fears that I had, you know. And it was like, well, someone can only use that against you if you think it's something that can be used against you, if you have shame about it, you know. And I realized the only thing holding me back was, yeah, my fear of what other people would think, and I didn't want to live like that. And if people see me in a less legitimate way as an actress, that's really on them. And I guess I don't want to work with people who would feel that way, especially because it's so fucking arbitrary. Like, I would do a nude scene as an actress, you know? I could do a nude scene playing a stripper as an actress, and that's legitimate. That's art. But as soon as you do it without a camera filming you and, you know, it's you, then suddenly you're, you know, not respectable as a person. I just didn't care for that cognitive dissonance anymore and decided sort of, well, my career is what I make it to be, and I really don't need to like be on Nickelodeon or anything. So I started an OnlyFans about almost a year ago, and I have like built up an online audience for a pretty long time. I've been doing YouTube for 5 years, and I mean, just through a combination of like social media and acting and stuff. Like, I had a good amount of people who were ready to like sign up and support me from day one. And that's so you guys asked me before we started recording if I use my real name, and I do. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. One is that, well, I use my real name on my social media, and if I wanted to be able to make money at OnlyFans relatively quickly, it really behooved me to just go ahead and use my regular social media where I already had an audience. And I also just sort of figured, I'm already so public. There's so many things about me on the internet. There's so many photos of me already out there. So many, not to be like, "Oh, so many people know who I am," but like enough people knew that I was like, this is not going to stay a secret if I try and make it a secret. And then I don't want to deal with, you know, oh, someone finds you out and exposes you. And I was like, you know what? I'm exposing myself from day one. Boom. I'm making an OnlyFans. If you want to see my tits, click on that. And so from day one, honestly, it was life-changing money. And it made my life so much more stable and just doable. And I have not struggled to pay my rent, haven't had to borrow money from people to pay my rent. And so, yeah, so that's how I got into sex work. And so, yeah, my OnlyFans journey has really only been just about a year.
Because most sex workers will use a pseudonym. So when I first saw your name, I was like, Heidewald is a weird choice for a fake last name, but like, you know.
It's a beautiful stage name, isn't it? Yeah. It just sounds so nice and it's so easy to spell.
Exactly. So yeah, it made more sense when you're like, oh yeah, people always got my name wrong as a kid. I was like, oh, it's your real name. Okay, makes more sense.
Yep.
So you said earlier that you talked with your friend about your fears going into sex work, and he told you it's only shameful if you let it be shameful. And you kind of came to that realization like, well, I don't want to let it be shameful. Mm-hmm. Was that just like a one moment for you where you were like, I'm not going to let this define me? Or did it take some time for you to be like, this isn't what I want, but I need to work toward that?
I would say it was both things, where I had like a long, slow evolution on my like thinking, and also it was a bit of a eureka moment also, where I was forced to really just look at my own arguments in the way that it was like a long, slow change in my thinking. Okay, so like when I was in high school, I loved Kate Winslet, still do, and she has a very just open perspective on nudity, because she gets asked about it a lot, because she's done some, you know, full frontal, she's shown bush, and not every actress in like her caliber is down to do that. And I remember like reading an interview with her. She's like, it's just a body. It's the human body. It's my body. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And I remember thinking like, I want to feel that way. Like, I want to feel like that, because I didn't. I was really one of the girls who would like not change in front of other people in the locker room and stuff, you know? And, but I would have rather felt like that. And then I went to a bikini bar for the first time after I moved to LA, and seeing all these girls up on stage, and they were just incredible dancers and so beautiful, and I was intoxicated by their performances, you know, and their power and their confidence. And once again, it was a feeling of, I want that. I want to feel like that. And I guess I've always just been a person who feels like if I want to be something, then I can be that thing. And so I kind of just decided to feel that way and feel that way about myself. And then now I do. And so it's like now I have the mindset I always wanted to have, and it feels as good as I thought it would feel. Like I feel confident and great, and I don't feel ashamed of things. And I mean, I always knew that any like hangups I had about it were purely about my fears of repercussions, because I'm not really like a person to make impulsive decisions that might hurt me later. I'm a very like future focused person. I've been wearing sunscreen every day since I was 11. You know, I'm always looking ahead, and so I was concerned always about how sex work could be used against me in the future. And then there was a point where I realized, I'm not running for office, not going to become a teacher. Really, the only way people could use this against me is just to try and embarrass me. And I'm not embarrassed. So there is actually nothing holding me back. And so, yeah, it was kind of, I'd had a long, slow evolution in my thinking that set the stage for a sudden, like, switch. Yeah.
There is kind of one direction that I'd really like to steer the conversation into. So, thoroughly stalking your Twitter.
Okay.
Let's talk about your music. Do you think that doing
Oh.
sex work has had an impact on your passion for music? Because you mentioned you came to LA specifically to be an actress.
Mm-hmm.
Was music always in the back of your mind?
Yes. So I've always loved acting and music. I'm definitely just a performer of all kinds. I mean, so I've done a lot of modeling also, and there's not a lot of types of performing I don't enjoy, you know? And I remember when I was when I was like 12 and I was thinking a lot, planning a lot about, my future as just a superstar or Oscar-winning actress slash, arena selling out pop star. And I thought, well, which one will I focus on first? Because you kind of gotta have your focus in one place. And I felt I felt like if you if you started out as a musician, you would have a harder time being seen as a like legitimately talented actor. So it's like I'm going to start with the acting. So that's kind of where my decision to do that came from. But I've always loved both, and I have been making music the whole time that I've been in LA, but just sort of sporadically when I would find somebody who I would want to collaborate with, then I would collab with them. But I didn't know how to like produce on my own, so it was always just sort of if I happen to meet people to work with. And then I got really into like the rave scene over the last few years, and I've been a festival vlogger, and I've done a lot of like rave fashion modeling, and I've just met a ton of people like in this business, and I started to realize like I I really want to put more energy into pursuing music and into pursuing that dream still. And I want to learn how to produce and DJ and be able to actually do it myself. And so that's what I started working on. And definitely, so the way that sex work has affected my music career is actually really fucking cool because music is, especially the EDM, it's not free to get started. You need some software. You like you need a DJ controller, and those are things I could not afford before I started doing sex work. And I know there are some people who worry that like starting in sex work will make people not see them legitimately as musicians, but I I wouldn't be where I am without doing sex work because it has given me that extra income that I needed and also freed up my time. I'm because I used to be a delivery driver for like Grubhub and DoorDash, and I just worked literally every hour that I could. I worked constantly. And doing that, I could make enough money to live and pay my bills and stuff. But that didn't leave enough time to like spend 6 hours a day to learn Ableton, you know? But since I've focused more on OnlyFans and making my money there, I've been able to buy Ableton and buy a DJ controller and speakers, and now I can spend 6 hours a day on music because I have that time. And so definitely sex work has opened up my possibilities to actually be able to focus on music as much as I want to.
I kind of want to take this to segue into celebrities, musicians, actresses using this sex work or like horror aesthetic to look edgy or cool or sexy, and then not always giving sex workers the acknowledgement that they deserve, or like not standing up for sex workers when they're facing horophobia. So I kind of want to talk about that with you, your opinions on that, and how can people, because I think this "I'm a hoe and I'm proud of it" mindset is really empowering for some people. So how can people maintain this while also helping sex workers and acknowledging that it comes from sex work?
So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely something I have thought about a lot. I mean, first of all, I thought about it for myself because, as I said, I started as an actress and I like made the choice to get into sex work and had to, Google it to learn how do I start this. And so I recognized that I was coming in like as an outsider, and I wanted to be respectful and learn everything that I could. And so like before I started stripping, I read constantly on like stripper forums, and I just like learned everything that I could because I was conscious of like I don't want to come in and like be a gentrifier of sex work, And so yeah, I really think that celebrities deserve to get shit for that because, like, honestly, if I was thinking about that and I'm poor and nobody knew who I was unless they were really into lesbian movies and had seen Bloomington, then yeah, bigger celebrities should absolutely be thinking about that. You're playing in an industry for fun where other people have spent their lives building it up and also risked a lot to do that. So, yeah, I do think that when celebrities want to do anything like within the world of sex work, they should join the community and they should talk to people and they should learn best practices and they should not just come in and see themselves as like automatically at the top of the game. Like, this is a different game from yours, You're coming into this industry as a newbie, even though you're famous. And then from the aesthetic perspective, I personally, I'm not someone who thinks like you can't wear stripper heels if you're not a stripper. It's like, first of all, they are so cute and they are so comfortable. I cannot imagine walking around in some of the stilettos that ordinary ladies are wearing. Like, they're so painful and really bad for your feet. So honestly, just from like, a foot care perspective, I really can't tell people don't wear stripper heels when you're going out because I think they're going to be better for you. Uh, but the problem is when people feel the need to distance themselves from sex workers and that's why it's problematic when people go, well, I'm not doing nudity, as if doing nudity now, that makes you a different kind of person that is bad. So I'm not that. And I think that it's really important for people to recognize their own internal biases against sex work and combat those the same way you have to combat your biases against other groups of people. I mean, it's an it's a cultural appropriation issue also, and And it's one that does have very high stakes because sex work is a very dangerous business. And especially like full service sex work is the most dangerous job in the world. And so you have to have respect for that when you are engaging in anything inspired by sex work or related to it. This is something I've called people out for in the rave community too, because a lot of rave fashion is very inspired by like stripper wear and stuff. And a lot of rave girls do OnlyFans. A lot. Like a ton of my friends who I know through raves do it. But then so there's also the little backlash. There's the every rave girl has OnlyFans, and then the girls who are like, "Am I the only girl who goes to raves who doesn't have an OnlyFans?" But then their profile picture is like wearing some, micro top bikini. That I'm like, who do you think invented that style, honey? Like, you think Prada invented that? Like, no, that came from the club, okay? And so people do need to recognize you are taking something from a culture and disrespecting it. And just because it's not an ethnicity or something, it's still a culture. And it's still one where, yeah, just as I said, the stakes are very high for people. And I really don't mind like the popularization of the hoe aesthetic because I love the hoe aesthetic. Like, we look great, like, of course. And I totally love people feeling sexy and comfortable with themselves and down to show off their bodies. And I think that kind of confidence and, lessening how much we as a society judge people for how they dress can only be helpful for us. But I do think people should really examine in themselves why they feel a desire to make sure everyone knows that they themselves aren't actually a sex worker. Like, why do you feel the need to do that? And what harm would come to you from embracing people and from lifting people up? And a lot of times it's not. And sometimes it is some. Sometimes you bring on a little risk into your own life. And that's fair because people who do this for a job have a lot of risk in their own life. And so, yeah, if you want to come in and take the cute fun parts of this life, then you should recognize that you should share some of the burdens too, and also just, especially like if you love the hoe aesthetic, then these are your fellow hoes, like, do not leave your fellow hoes alone in the woods without anyone to help, like, we're all in this together. It's like I personally, I don't do super explicit content, just because, well, all those hang-ups I grew up with are not gone. So I'm just not like comfortable with everything. But I don't like walk around announcing that to try to show like I'm different than other people. And in fact, it's made me a little uncomfortable when I've been interviewed by some like media organizations through all of this, because they ask me like what kind of content I make, and I really do not want them to present me as some kind of more legitimate, more respectable spokesperson for OnlyFans because I don't do, as explicit of content as other people. And so I'm like, I'd rather you not say anything about what kind of content I make because it doesn't matter. Like, we're all doing the same. We're all making entertainment that people jack off to, and lots of people are doing that. Actors are making entertainment people jack off to. I've got a friend who watches Outlander regularly, religiously as porn. Like, so I don't even think there should be this huge distinction between what's porn and what's not, Like, we're all just trying to feel beautiful and express ourselves and entertain ourselves and entertain others. And so trying to like draw these strict lines between you and other people based off of arbitrary differences in what you do. Like, because, I mean, even if you're not posting nudes, but you're posting, you know, like lingerie photos on Instagram, or, you know, you're posting pictures that show your butt, which like a million people are doing. There's plenty of people who think that's porn. You know, like, you're not different. We're all the same in this. So stop trying to like throw other people under the bus so that you can look better. It's just respectability politics, and respectability politics always ends up hurting all of us. Like, it does not help. It will not save you to try to appeal to people's morality who will judge you, because they are going to judge you. And the only way out of this is to change those cultural ideas of what is moral.
I've had this podcast for 2 years interviewing sex workers, and I have never once thought to be like, what kind of content do you make? I feel like that's such an invasive question.
Right? Yeah. I've been surprised because I wasn't ready for all of these. Like, I wasn't ready for the BBC to ask me like what kind of content I make, and like exactly like what kind of video do I sell for what amount of money. And I was like, this is starting to feel really invasive and uncomfortable, and like it's personal too, and it's also individual. Like, I might have certain kinds of content that I post on my OnlyFans, but I might make something real weird for an individual person because, you know, they're cool and they wanted it and they're willing to pay for it. You know, who knows? Maybe I'll do a video of me stepping in mashed potatoes and fucking smearing them all over myself. Like, am I going to tell that to the BBC? It's not their business.
I know kind of which tweet you're referring to. The fact the BBC, they singled it. I'm sorry, in that article they singled you out. Like, they singled you the fuck out. Like, I read that and I was like it shouldn't even matter.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah, that interview, I don't want to say anything bad about the woman who wrote it, because I do think she was just coming from such a different place. She's a business writer, and so she was trying to understand the mechanics behind the business models, and trying to figure out and be able to put a number on, you know, how much of our income we would lose. And it was kind of hard to impress upon her how impossible it is to do that. But yeah, the BBC low-key shaded me for having fewer subscribers than everyone else they interviewed. I was like, damn, okay. Like,
Also, if people really wanted to know what content you make, they could. Just a
they
thought.
could subscribe.
It's literally that easy.
Yeah, like literally, right. I still have my sale going on. It's $10. I've got $10. I think a lot of people have got $10. I'm pretty sure the BBC's got $10.
The Brits. That's what we'll chalk it up to. They're British. They don't get it.
Yeah. Cheap and invasive. Sorry. The cool British people. That's not about you.
Yeah, from that last spiel, I had like 20 questions pop up. I was like, holy fuck, this is
I'm very long-winded. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I just want you to know that I'm just going to stick with the path, and then we're just going to go that way. But I loved everything that you said. I'm eating this up. Okay. So, before we go back to talking shit about celebrities who just play sex worker for a few days, are there any celebrities who have actually done sex workers justice?
So, have you guys watched the show P-Valley? So it's a show on Stars, and it's new. It just finished its first season, and it's about strippers and strip club. And I really enjoy it. I think that it's a really good representation. It's fair, you know. It shows people's like full lives, and it's very honest about the needless negative repercussions that they face just for doing their jobs, and the double standards of society and stuff. So I guess probably, you know, whoever is involved with that and made that happen, good for them. They definitely put the work into research and knowing what they're doing. And also a lot of the actresses on that show can really fucking pole dance. So I would assume there's probably some people in the cast that have some kind of sex work background. But in general, no, celebrities do not, they don't understand sex work. They don't portray it the right way. They really do not respect sex workers. And that's a pretty big problem across the board. Like, I'm sure there are a couple people who have done a great job that I just don't know about or can't think of at the moment. So I don't want to really make a blanket statement, but I'll make like, a 3/4 of a blanket statement.
So, getting into the juicy part. So, kind of, I guess before we get into this next question, I want to ask about Bella Thorne's apology, which I'm sure you've read. But then, like, I guess my follow up to that is kind of going to be like, if she actually wanted to achieve the things that she claimed that she wanted to achieve, how could she have done it? Basically, how can celebrities actually bring attention to the platform? So, did you read Bella Thorne's apology?
Yes, I did. I have a soft-hearted, gullible side of me that always wants to believe people and think that people can change. And so, man, there's a little part of me was like a little hopeful, but really it was a toothless, empty apology that was very self-centered and self-serving, and the biggest problem is that, well, first of all, like, she really didn't address the things that she did wrong, and she didn't even address the things that, like, she lied about, because, like, she kept lying about the fact that she was doing this for a movie with Sean Baker, and she even, like, retweeted something about that, like, while all of this backlash was going on, even though Sean Baker released a statement about how he's not making a movie with her. And so it's like, okay, so you're apologizing, but you're not done lying. You're continuing lying. So that kind of makes your apology less believable. And then she said, like, drop your links, let me promote you. A lot of people did. Did she retweet a single person? No. Like, she didn't even like people's tweets. Like, I saw a couple of people who had, looked in her likes and pointed out that she only liked people's comments that were like, you go, Bella, you did nothing wrong, And then her sister, Kaylee, has been saying some, like, truly horrific, horrorphobic things on Instagram, including one about how, like, basically everyone mad at Bella is just insatiable sluts who are jealous that they can't make that same kind of money. And Bella liked that. And then she's just said a bunch of other things, really, really bragging about, like, her ability to come in and make more money than girls who have been doing this for a long time as a career without, and then also she's not, like, getting nude or doing anything explicit, so it's really like, yeah, just really rubbing it in people's faces that she's, like, already rich. And then, like, one person just said something like, just like, we're just trying to survive. And she just mocked them, like, well, take charge of your own life, just really, really shitty stuff. And so the fact that Bella apologized and claims to support sex workers, but then she's liking some of these really cruel, mean-spirited comments that her sister is making. And even if she doesn't like the other ones, she's certainly not speaking out against them or telling her sister, hey, stop writing all that incredibly cruel shit on Instagram. So it really feels like, she's got her public outward-facing statement, and then this is the little peek into her actual true feelings.
Yeah, sorry not all of us could have been famous at 16, Bella.
Yeah.
I would love to have been on the Disney Channel, but
It was literally my biggest dream. And I begged my mom to move to LA, but she was like, we live in Indiana. I've got a life here, okay? My life's not all about you, kid.
yeah, this really seems like celebrities, like you said earlier, distancing themselves from the sex work, especially because I remember her tweeting, "There's not going to be any nudity on my OnlyFans heart emoji," and I was like, "Fuck you, Bella
Yeah.
Thorne."
Yeah, people have really been doing the most to like distance themselves from the people who built the very fucking platform that they're coming in and making money off of. And I I mean, I think they're doing it because they want to maintain their air of legitimacy, and they don't want to deal with any of the fallout and the consequences that sex workers deal with. And that's just not fair. Like, it's really shitty to come into an industry that is a survival job for so many people and just be gleeful that you can take some of that money from them or make money that they can't make and not suffer any of the like negative like social repercussions that they suffer. That's that's just shitty. It's really awful and shitty. And I truly, I guess, I mean, not to be like, I'm a saint, but I just don't understand it because I feel like for me, I've been, I've just felt the opposite, where the more I saw people be discriminated against and disrespected, the more I wanted to stand with those people and um, help get rid of that stigma both within myself and culturally. And I just don't understand why people would see the same things that I saw but decide to go the opposite direction of, I'm just going to lean into this stigma and fucking throw these women under the bus, and just use my cultural influence to truly cement and solidify this hierarchy of respectability and the negative stereotypes about women who do sex work. I think, I mean, not only is it just selfish and self-centered, but it's very cruel. And to have that kind of influence and to have that kind of power and not try to use it to help other people, and in fact uh, gleefully use it to hurt others, you're a horrific person. Like, that makes you just an absolute monster of a human being. And I wish that that would ruin people's careers instead of showing a titty, like, I I respect people who do whatever they want to do with their own bodies consensually. Like, that doesn't affect my respect for people at all, and I don't think it should affect anyone's respect for people. But how people treat others, that affects my respect for people in a major way. And so I get that Bella Thorne has been trying to save face, but I think she's really just shown what kind of a person she is, and it's ugly. It's fucking ugly as hell.
Do you think she saw your thread?
Oh, I know she did. Yeah, I know somebody who knows her, and they messaged me and told me that she has seen my thread. And this person I know had an opportunity to talk to Bella's management about some things that like she could do to make things better, and did ask for my opinion and my suggestions. And so, without having a lot of hope that she would actually do them, I did pass along my suggestions. So it's kind of funny because, I mean, I didn't really think that she would see it, but also, like, cool, great. Like, I meant everything I said. And she has shown that she's reacting to all of this extremely defensively. So I'm sure that's how she felt while reading my thread. I wish that she could be open minded and read it and recognize like the actual harm that she caused people and think about ways that she could actually fix that and not just fix her reputation. But, if she doesn't do that at all, then I guess the very smallest consolation prize is that she got to read that I hate her stinky guts.
Good.
Holy fuck! Why this dumb? Okay. It's okay to admit when you fuck up.
Mhm.
I want to make it clear that this is not a situation where Bella Thorne is going to be this evil person forever. There are things that she could do to make it right.
Yeah.
And she is aware of that. And now I guess we wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely somebody I'm really not a canceling person, which is kind of funny that that rant went viral because that's not really how I use my Twitter most of the time. And I usually tend to talk about societal issues in general, not individuals. But I think, yeah, when you've been called out for something and you have committed real harm to people, you should open up your ears and educate yourself, listen, and then truly reflect on it and change your behavior and try to make amends and make things better and then do things better from now on. And I honestly think most sex workers are open to forgiving her and you know and not retaining a hostility towards her. They just want to see her do the right thing and they just want to see sex workers be protected. And so there's a lot that she could do to actually side with sex workers and help lift us up and join the community and truly be one of us. Work with people, talk to people, listen to them, promote the other people the way we all do. Actually, join this community and use your influence for good. She has a massive opportunity to do that if she wants. And so I hope that she takes the opportunity to recognize the power that she has to make things better and use that instead of focusing on how she can resurrect her own personal reputation.
I think that's a great note to end the
See,
show
I can be
on.
nice too.
Of course. Erika, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. It was great getting to hear your perspective on everything. And I didn't think you would get back to us at all. So I was really excited that you did in the first place.
Oh, I think it took me a couple days. I got really overwhelmed by my DMs, but I was very happy to talk to you guys. And this is a much more fun and pleasant kind of interview to do than, with BBC.
That's how we try to keep the podcast.
More fun than the BBC.
That's our new tagline.
Yeah.
If our listeners want to try and find you on social media, where can they look?
So everything is just under my extremely easy to spell and pronounce name, Erika Heidewald. And I am at Erika Heidewald on everything. And my OnlyFans is onlyfans.com/Erika Heidewald as well. And by the way, I also have a lot of girls who subscribe to my OnlyFans, and I love that. So, if people want to do that too, and you're welcome to see me on there. And there is a place I always respond to my DMs.
Perfect. Well, yeah, go find Erika on OnlyFans, support her, support sex workers. You can find us at candygirlpodcast.com if you want to reach out to us, or all of our episodes are on there. That's the best way to contact us. That's it. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll hear from you next week.
Candy Girl